Tinha caído a internet, tá ligado? E eu fui fazer outra coisa, mas voltei. Vamos pelo menos fazer mais um pouco aqui. Fazer essa missãozinha de encontrar meu escritório no segundo andar. E aí eu vou fechar e não sei se eu volto depois. Talvez eu volte, talvez não. Já falamos com essa rapaziada aqui. Não fiz nada, depois caiu, obviamente. Caiu quando eu tinha ido fazer outra coisa. Você já conhece esse cara aqui?
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed.
Ah, não conheço não. O Dr. Swansea.
Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Vamos ver. Tem mente de 4, ele tem mais 2 em relacionamentos. Círculo social, no caso, né? A qualidade de sangue dele pode ficar bem absurda, já é 2000, que é aceitável. Ele é desses caras aqui. Eram os únicos que tinham 3 de círculo social na real, mas enfim. Aqui esse pá vai ser uma gangue? Cadê? E tipo, o Clay Cox, por algum motivo, ele tá aparecendo aqui. Mas é porque ele não faz parte mais da gangue, eu imagino. Essa daqui deve ser a gangue. Que tem 3, né? Não sei. Enfim.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
Deixa eu ver. Meu Deus, eu não tinha tirado a tela. Tá safe, tá safe. Não tinha tirado a tela, mas... Ainda bem que eu vim olhar rapidamente.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical.
Os experimentos de transfusão de sangue de Toriel ainda não tiveram sucesso.
You may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have
Eu passo lá agora, antes de fazer essa missão também. Nova investigação, ingredientes em falta. Perguntamos isso daqui, falta um bagulho de pista.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly.
Quem? Tá, não é nenhum dos que eu conheço ainda. Esse daqui é o cara enfermeiro, não conheço nenhum.
I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him? Or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Aykroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings with desires, hopes, and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones, and flesh.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
Harvey Fiddick. Harvey se culpa por sua lesão. Ah, eu não vi ele ainda, mas ele tá aqui. Tá, é isso daqui o círculo social. Tá, tudo requer uma pista agora, não dá pra fazer mais nada.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Vocês vim, eu queria... Tava com vontade de espirrar, eu ia mutar o Mickey, mas tô safe, tô safe. Caralho, tem muita gente, cara. Não que seja ruim, né, mas...
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular?
Beatrice questiona a eficiência do Hospital Pembroke.
It's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you
Caralho, mas o casalzinho, o Hawkins e o Hooks?
mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
Pipa separa camas para pacientes que podem pagar. Mesma coisa do Hooks, né? Dois filhos da puta. Se tiver a chance de acabar com esses caras.
She charged you for a bed.
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Você preferiu o quê? Que não tivessem dado uma cama? Porque na epidemia não tem, tá ligado? Mas enfim. Errado também estão. Ah, mas não tá, né? Ah, esqueci de pedir a ela se ela quer um check-up médico.
How is my son?
Do you require medical...
I have other concerns, right?
Imaginei.
Goodbye. Good evening. I'm Dr.
Caralho, é o
Reed.
Harry Potter, mano.
Can I help at all? Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too.
Ah, então você tem um problema,
suppose that
amigão.
this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes,
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
O que eu posso ver dele? Ele tem fadiga, 30% de perda de qualidade de sangue. Posso dar uma paradinha de fadiga pra ele.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
How painful.
So painful.
Porra. Descanse? Não.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
Aí é foda. Eu posso mandar ele descansar. Ah não, vamos fazer o
Do you
check-up
need any
médico.
help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I...
You are not a burden.
And you have my...
Ah,
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid...
You are not a burden.
And you have my...
é porque eu não tenho?
How painful.
So painful.
I'll let you get some rest then. Good evening, Mr.
I'm okay.
I have to go.
Vamos mandar ele
Good
dormir de
evening.
novo.
Okay.
Dorme,
How
dorme.
painful.
So painful.
I'll let you.
Doctor.
Good evening, Doctor. How is my son doing?
Deixa eu ver, tem alguma coisa? Ah, não tem nada por enquanto.
Goodbye.
Eu preciso de um remédio de fadiga se eu quiser ajudar ele se pá. Mas ele tá com fadiga e ele tá com dor na garganta e a porra toda? What the fuck? O que é essa daqui?
I'm alright.
Eu não lembro quem é essa daqui.
What can I do for you, Doctor?
É a Dorothy Kane. Não tenho nenhuma pista sobre ela ainda. Mas não tem nada pra falar.
I gave him...
Thank you.
Não tem nada pra falar com ela. O que é esse?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed.
Ah, esse é novo,
May
eu
I
acho.
help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Harvey se culpa por sua lesão. Boto fé. Ah, é verdade. Um médico conversou com ele e não quis escutar, e esse médico aqui escutou ele e sabe da lesão no braço. Que ele negligenciou os filhos e tal.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable, and your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Ackroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
A esposa de Harvey morreu durante a guerra. Ele tem 1 de mentalidade, eu posso enfeitiçar ele a qualquer hora.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
Goodbye
tem
for
mais
now,
nada.
Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
Por enquanto.
Still not coming. How can we be sure we're making a difference?
Hospital Pembroke, 2 de novembro, carta inacabada. Meus filhos queridos, desculpe por não escrever antes, mas só de escrever essas palavras parece que meu braço vai explodir. Não se preocupem, o papai vai sair do hospital assim que os médicos curarem o braço dele. Se vocês precisarem de alguma coisa enquanto isso, procurem o Sr. Chadwick no canteiro de obras e falem que vocês são os filhos de Harvey Fiddick. Vocês se lembram do Robert Chadwick, quer dizer, aquele cara grandão de bigode que me ajudou a consertar a porta da casa na primavera passada? Peçam uns trocados a ele, com certeza ele vai ajudar. Desculpem por não poder trabalhar. Quê? Desculpe por não poder trabalhar para sustentar vocês, mas a gente vai dar um jeito nisso assim que eu sair daqui. E não se preocupem, tudo vai melhorar assim que o braço do papai ficar forte de novo. Assim que os médicos curarem meu braço, eu... E aí é uma carta inacabada, obviamente. Harvey não conseguirá sustentar sua família com o braço lesionado. Vou falar com ele de novo pra ver se tem coisa nova.
Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening.
You seem worried about the safety of your family. And it's obviously the reason why your wound troubles you so much.
I cannot give up
Eu
on
já
my
tinha dito
children
isso.
now. They both need me living.
What about their mother, if I may ask?
She died in 1915 during one of the first Zeppelin raids. We never found her body.
Save tá 100%. Qualidade de sangue em 1000 de experiência.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick.
Calma,
Good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
tem alguma coisa branca aqui.
Tell me,
I'm just a...
I was more...
I'm a...
Are you...
Well,
I won't...
are you sure?
In others... Tell me.
Strict what I of...
Por que tá branco a sua vida em
Goodbye,
Londres? Enfim, né? Tá bugado esse pá. Frasco de vidro. A gente já falou com ela. Esse daqui é o... Esse daqui é o Nerdola.
Good evening.
And good evening.
Tá, aqui é uma pista. Acho que não tem mais nada. Não.
Goodbye.
Esse cara aqui é novo, eu acho. Não lembro.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed.
Ah,
I believe we're
esse
going to
pai
be
esse é o
colleagues.
cara que
Reed,
olhou
yes,
o braço
I've
do
been
cara.
informed about your
O
arrival.
outro.
I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swans's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
4, saudável, 2000 de sangue. E olha lá, esse daqui era o último do círculo social. Achamos. Falta 2 aqui no hospital.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
Ou você não é bom, né, primo? A inveja não lhe cai bem, é o que eu diria,
There
mas
is no
vamos fingir que a
need
gente
for
é bom.
such animosity between us. Don't you think the epidemic is already enough to deal with?
That is one point we could agree on. And that is precisely why I want to be sure that you will be of help to this hospital, instead of a burden.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
Waverly desaprova os métodos da medicina moderna.
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure. But my young colleague obviously disagrees.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
Other people may say that's too conservative a point of view.
Conservative? And what are you going to say to Mr. Fiddick if he loses his arm because of the operation? Because that's what's going to happen if the surgery is a failure.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
Knowledge has always been and will remain our main weapon, and it has always come at a price. And personal initiative.
It is not a question of initiative, it is a question of integrity. These men and women have put their faith in us, Dr. Reed.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. Thank you for your time. We'll
Safe.
talk later.
Que isso? Ele anda como se ele estivesse em combate. Vou te pegar, vou te pegar. Você é louco. Pelo menos ele não pode bater na rapaziada. Ainda bem. Eu ia fazer pra caralho sem querer e o save é automático, não tem como fazer nada. Já falei com isso daqui, né? Não consigo ver o rosto dela, velho. Acho que já, deixa eu ver.
Good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
Milton cheats patients out of their money at this hospital, Pippa. Are you his accomplice?
Yes, I am.
Is this your definition of being useful? By abusing the sick and poor?
No. It is my definition of getting out of this useless life once and for all.
Why do you do it?
Why not? Most of the sick who paid for a bed are already dead, or will be soon. Don't you see the futility of all this?
Filho da puta, cara.
In your position, I would suggest a more elaborate defense. Cynicism will not save you.
This isn't cynicism, it's realism. You still need me, Dr. Reed, and you know it.
Ah, não sei não. Se tiver a oportunidade de te enfeitar, você vai
Whose
ver.
idea was it?
What difference does it make? We did it together, and I'm guilty as charged.
Answer my question.
It was my idea first, even though Milton would say it was his, to protect me.
Sei.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Acho que não tem nada novo de ninguém. Talvez do Milton. Deixa eu ver. Era pra ele estar aqui na frente. Nossa senhora, o cara bugado de novo, velho. Ele não vai desbugar.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly. We lack words. So excuse me if I don't look on the bright side of life.
Admit it. Nurse Hawkins is more than your lover. She's also your partner in crime.
Of course she is. How else could I tell which bed is free? I need to know that.
Have you no shame?
Don't you see the city is crumbling down? Today people are ready to pay to get a hospital bed. Tomorrow we may be fighting for food.
Goodbye, Milton.
Eu preciso encontrar um esconderijo, porque eu quero tentar fazer o remédio de fadiga pra aquele moleque. Fadiga. Mas eu não tenho nenhum esconderijo por aqui, velho. Ô porra. Sai, sai. Será que eu consigo voltar pras docas? Vamos tentar voltar pras docas. Só pra ir pro esconderijo lá e pegar um remédio de fadiga. Não consigo, nem com a porra. Eu nem lembro qual o caminho que eu tinha pego na real.
It's locked.
Did I black out?
Ele ainda tá aqui. Eu não sei se vai ter algo negativo por eu não matar alguém.
I cannot enter.
Ah, talvez seja esse o caminho. Vamos tentar. Aqui tem um esconderijo. Mas ele simplesmente não entra. Os caras aqui não deu respawn, pelo menos. O que a gente tem aqui? Não, já tínhamos visto isso daqui. Tem um baú aqui, pelo menos. Esse aqui é o barco que a gente veio se pá. Meu Deus. Eu podia ter descido por aqui, que eu não sei onde é, aparentemente. É Z. Enfim. Vamos dar uma continuada para as docas. A gente pode dar TP ali. Ó, tem um lixo aqui. Mole graxa. Que? Por que eu vim parar em um boss, velho? Meu Deus! Caralho, o cara tem 70 bonecos! Que isso? Meu Deus, eu tô muito dano! Sai fora, eu não consigo, é muito forte. É... Sai fora, sai fora. Ai, 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 caralho. Caralho! O cara fica forte pra caralho depois. Ah, mano, que bagulho quebrado, velho. Eu não consigo mudar o target. Que jogo bem feito, velho. Não é nada intuitivo pra mudar o target. Olha isso. Eu não consigo mudar, foda-se. Bem feito, primo. Bem feito, jogo bom. Deixa eu ver como é que troca o target, vai, que esse jogo é meio mal feito e não é nada intuitivo essa merda. Deixa eu ver. Ah, não tem como. Ele não explica. Bem feito. Interação, ataque corpo a corpo, atirar. Ah, ele não explica. Bem feito. Bota fé. Sai fora. Caralho, cara! Ah, é pouco mal feito, na moral, primo. Sai fora, porra! Vem cá, filho da puta. Vai tomar no cu. Vem cá. Filho da puta, fica brincando pra caralho. Vai ver a brincadeira. Vem cá. Não adianta vir com foguinho, não. Filha da puta. Caralho, que bagulho chato, cara. Tá, pegamos gelinho, fragmento de alumínio. Cara, eu queria só um esconderijo, Vada, pra ver se eu consigo fazer o bagulho de fadiga. Ó, tem mais um baú aqui. Quinquina. Quinina, na verdade. E essência de cravo da Índia. Tá, agora onde que tá o esconderijo, Vada? Ah, é pra cá? Vou marcar o esconderijo então. Vamos correr, foda-se. Sai fora, sai fora. Que isso? Ah, cara, o bagulho vem aqui, foda-se. Ah, não consigo passar? Eu vou tomar um hit e vou morrer, velho. Sai fora, sai fora. Que isso? Eu não consegui ler porque o jogo não tem muito sentido nos botões que você usa. Ameixa seca e bons modos. É, eu queria poder chegar ali, né, primo? Sai fora, sai fora. Meu Deus! Eu acho que eu não deveria estar aqui. Só se pá. Calma. Ai, velho. Bem feito, primo. Jogo bom. Mas pra ser justo eu não deveria estar aqui, eu morri. Sai, velho! É muito bicho, cara, não faz nem sentido. Olha isso. Não faz nem sentido o tanto de bicho que tem aqui, velho. Sai fora. Sai fora! Deixa eu matar esse cara logo. Vem cá. Ai, ai, velho. Foda-se, tô tomando hit sem motivo nenhum. Tem 70 bichos aqui. Vem cá. Ai, velho. Não consegui ver. Sai fora, velho. Ai. Mano, é muito mal feito, velho. Tem muito bicho no mesmo lugar. Nem importa o level deles. Mas tem muito, não faz nem sentido. Eu não consigo atacar eles sem estar tomando de outro lado. Olha isso. Ah, velho, eu tô no level errado, mas é muito mal feito como eles juntam a porra dos bichos, na moral. Fui derrotado pelo jogo mal feito, hype. Foda-se, vamos voltar lá. Pegamos 10 shillings aqui. Acho que não mudou porra nenhuma. Eu volto no mesmo lugar. Ah, é esse cara de novo, sai fora. Tô mais suave. Tem um cara ali em cima. Eu não vou poder pegar ele porque tem um bicho me seguindo aqui. Se ataquem! Ah, velho. Começou. Tá, vamos correr. Vamos lutar com esses daqui primeiro, vai. Os bichos não param de atacar, cara. Se o fôlego do jogo fosse infinito, não teria problema. Mas não é. Então deveria ter sido mais bem feitinho em questão de combate. Vou morrer de novo. É um RPG, eu deveria saber que eu não deveria estar brincando aqui no level errado. Ah, chegou mais, velho. Ah, mano. Acertou errado ainda. É isso, eu vou ficar por aqui. Depois eu volto nisso daí e vejo se eu tenho paciência pra continuar jogando. E é isso, velho. Eu tô aqui no level errado, não era pra eu estar aqui. Mas, sinceramente, esse lance de amontoar 795 no mesmo lugar é chato pra caralho. Mas, enfim. Sinceramente, a minha paciência com o jogo que acabou pelo momento. E depois eu continuo. Mas é isso, velho. Jogamos tempo demais. Ficar um tempo sem jogar ele. E aí depois eu volto pra finalizar a história. Mas é isso, velho. Comer agora e daqui uns dias eu devo voltar pra terminar.